All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Good day. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. You can shoot me a little note and let me know. I'm gonna hook up some power to this mic. So we're going to practice for our day 12, yay, day 12, a yin class today. I'm feeling like I need a little bit of coziness. So I thought that's, because we're doing this together, I thought maybe you might be feeling that too. Yeah, let me make sure this gets on. Grab yourself 2 blocks for practice, please. If you don't have the 2 blocks, then do grab yourself a towel. 2 towels really work well. Or a pillow could help too, like, you know, a pillow for the couch. One of those guys, something that creates a bolster-like vibe for you so that you're supported. I had to charge. Lots of devices, lots of fun stuff. And the playlist today. Thanks, honey. Husband Paul says it sounds good. I'm going to cut and paste the playlist in the chat. But it's today's date. It's on my Spotify, and my Spotify handle name is my friend Simone, all one word, Simone with 2 E's. And it's a nice playlist today. It's pretty cozy. It helps with yin for sure. I know that a lot of us struggle with stillness, which is why this practice overall, the yoga practice, I mean, is so beneficial. But yin really challenges us on being with ourselves. So just an invitation to, I guess, know that. And as you know that, you're a little more open to what might come your way and how it may come your way. Just know that it might be triggering here and there. We're going to get started in 2 minutes. If you could, I've got 2 different weighing in on the sound on the chat here. So this get started. The sound is definitely coming through. So if you're having trouble getting the sound, you just want to make sure to check your devices again at home, because I think we're good on this end. just going to do a few last minute things. Just want to make sure to check. There we are. Yeah, definitely good on this end. And sometimes things get changed on our computer. And I know that if you're Zooming a lot, folks at home, I know that I had some of my outputs get changed. So just check everything out. Make sure that it's all good. It's just almost 11 o'clock right now. I'm going to give it another minute just in case some people are having trouble with the sound. Again, we are going to do a yin practice today. You're going to need 2 blocks. You could also have a strap nearby, but I don't think it's going to be super necessary. It's just sometimes helpful, but it's not necessary. And when you get your blocks and what you need nearby, just frame your mat about midway. And we are going to start on our back bodies. And we'll get started. I'm going to count down the playlist. So if you have a device nearby, get that guy ready. Count it down. Count it down. I'll do 2 earbuds. So we'll go on the count of 5, 4, 3, and 2, and 1. You can hit play now. Get on your back body and have yourself a sweet and necessary first breath here. Create a little breathing space at the armpits. So gotta just shimmy or move a little bit. And make sure your jaw is parted, upper and lower jaw. Relaxing the space in your cheeks and across your forehead. And being able to go with that kind of rhythm, that kind of release. I'm going to take the soles of your feet to the mat. So there's a bend in the legs as you step. And then you're just going to bring your feet close together to kiss your toes together. And then open your knees like a book so that the soles of the feet touch. Your feet are like prayer hands. And you can use your props, whatever they may be, and you can put them underneath your knees. If you don't need that, you can let that go. It's not necessary to use your props. And the same way you felt your jaw and across your forehead give up I want you to feel a kind of similar vibe through the inner legs and the knees and the hips. And then you can stretch your arms overhead and get kind of long and reach. You could hook thumbs and pull the thumbs and feel stretch. You could also interlock the hands and flip the palms, keeping your legs in that still space, however they're open. And then you could interlock the hands and put those hands behind your head. So there'll be a little bit of press into the knuckles and the fingers. And there'll be a pretty big external rotation and opening through the shoulders, which I have a new appreciation for, given where my shoulder is at these days. So I say that because if you are making space for something that is a little injured or off, just acknowledge that. It might mean completely shifting out in some way, or it might mean making space for it and just waiting for things to settle down and catch up. When I offered the yin class last week, I spoke a little bit about a very kind of common quote in the yin and yogi community. And so I'll just say it again in case you missed it. It's always a good reminder to understand that we're never using our body to get into the pose, but we're using the pose to get into our bodies. This is always the case with this practice, this yoga thing. But it is especially obvious to me, and I think pretty important to recognize in this practice of yin. The asana, the shape, the posture is giving you an insight into your body. It's giving you an insight into you. When you breathe in, could you feel your belly rise and then your chest body? And when you breathe out, could you feel your belly drop first and then your chest? And take one more big inhale to be still in this shape. Still through the arms, still through the hands, still through the legs and the feet. Following that exhale, feeling the drop of the belly and then the chest. We'll do one more together. Soften the jaw, part the upper and the lower jaw. Soften across the forehead. And then breathe in through the nose. An audible exhale. Feel a little bit of yang effort here as you charge by pressing the feet up against one another pretty actively to feel your inner thighs wake up. Keep that press and lift the head. Breathe in. And release the arms by your side body, palms face up. Put your head down. Breathe out. And then release the press of the feet. Just soften and feel how your knees opened up a little wider. And take your hands to your outer thighs and close your legs like a book. Let that land. It's a bit of a rebound here just to feel what you created. Deep breath in and out. You're going to make your way into a child's pose with pretty wide knees, toes touch. Try and stay as low to the ground as though you're sneaking. So you keep it a little sleepy, a little sloppy, a little sweet. You bring your toes together and then you step your knees as wide as you can and try and bring your heart and your forehead to the ground. Now, if that doesn't reach there, maybe slip a prop underneath your chest or maybe prop up your layered forearms underneath your forehead. I get a little compromised with my microphone when I'm leading this way, so I'm going to keep a little bit away from the floor. But as close as you can get to kissing down to your mat and sitting whatever flexibility is available to you in your lower back and your hips. And it's almost like there's a breath out, but the breath out is through your lower back and your hips. And it sinks you a little deeper in as your sit bones get a little heavier towards the heels. And if you just reflect on how still you can be, how quiet you can be in the body, you start to recognize how the pose is getting into your body. These very little micro shifts without any grand gestures. There might be a little more sensation into the hips, into the inner upper thighs. Just wrapping around your pelvic floor, that kind of feeling of letting that go as well. And then it echoes a little space and a little more and a little more into the lower spine, into that sacrum. And some people really feel challenged in the knees. I just want to acknowledge, that you could slip a little towel or cushion under there. We're going to hold this shape still for just over another minute, about a minute and a half, so we can really see the transformation of what's on offer for today. And really feeding the body with oxygen. So when you breathe in through the nose, you can still explore that deep breath in through the back of the throat and into the lower belly. And when you breathe out, it's like you're savoring that ride a bit. So you slow the exhale out the nose. Because of that breath, that ride of breath in and out, you get to feel kind of shifts inside the body, inside through the torso and into the weaving of the rib cage. And breath just kind of stretching those parts too. Take about 2 more breaths, inhales and exhales. On that second breath in, when you get to the top of your inhale, hold for a beat. Feel yourself kind of balloon wide. And then take another sip in to your space. Even a little more. And then audible exhale. Stretch your arms forward so your fingertips point to the top of your mat. Stretch in your balasana, child's pose, and then move slowly, like you're moving through thick honey, hips up and forward. And curl your toes under here with your wide knees, so it might be that your feet kiss together, and press into the toes to open up the plantar fascia of your feet here. So you're kind of in a makeshift tabletop with your knees wide. And press into the toes, take advantage of the space you can open in your feet here. Breathe in and arch your spine for 1 beat. Breathe out and round for that other beat. And a little round goes a long way here. Come back to a neutral spine. Take an inhale. Walk one knee in at a time so that your knees are hip width distance. They're not touching. Take your blocks. Put them underneath your hands. If you don't have blocks, just bring your rolled up towels to the front of your mat, but put your hands flat onto the mat because we're going to go on to a downward face dog and you want support. Downward face dog, Adho Mukha Shavasana. Breathe in and breathe out. Stretch just by being in the shape. Let the shape speak to you. It's kind of weird at times to just be so still in down dog, like not pedal the feet, not shift the hips. Just notice anything about being still in down dog. And take one more breath in and one more breath out. Super dynamic pose if you let her in. Step your right foot in between your hands. Slide your left foot a little more back. And bring your left knee down and take your arms up for a beat. We've been here before. Breathe in. And put your hands on your thighs, your right thigh, that is. And maybe just start to lean your hips more forward and down. And you can press into your right thigh like you're kind of leaning in there. Take about 5 breaths here. And out of the 5 breaths, walk your hands down either onto your blocks or whatever props you have. Tips of the fingers or pads of the fingers. And try and sneak your right foot a little more forward. And then shift your hips a little more forward and down. But try not to go lower than this with your torso, resting your chest body more on your right thigh here. And just seeing what's what. Low lunge, but not totally getting right in right away. Maybe you close your eyes so that you really allow for yourself to just be here and nowhere else. About 5 more breaths. In this first part of our lizard, we're incrementally going to kind of explore. Way we're building into this yin today, off of our yang yin from yesterday. A little more depth to how we looked at our hips in that practice yesterday. How we worked our hips, used our hips. Take your right hand and your right prop, whatever it is, bring it to the inside of your right foot. And then press the mound of your right foot down onto the ground, like really ground that mound of the right toe. But then grounding it as you open the right knee a little to the right. So it kind of leans to the right side a bit. But keep your grounding of that mound of the toe. So it's a bit of resistance here. And then drop your hips a little further forward down. Also, if you're having any trouble meeting your hands to your props, maybe stand your props up at a different height. Bring the floor to you. That's what props are good for. They're there to give you props. If there's any pinching in that back knee, you could curl your left toe under and it might relieve that a bit. It's a little trick. Still leaning the knee a little bit to the right, that right knee, and still grounding through the mound of your right big toe. Take one more inhale where you are. Sigh it out to exhale. Kind of release the effort in the right foot. Shift your hips back a bit. Shift them back until that front leg is straight and you're grounding into the right heel and flipping your right toes up. Ooh, breathe in. And breathe out. Come forward through the hips to put the right foot flat to the ground again. Bend the right leg. Heel toe the right foot further out. Like you're stepping almost to the edge of the right side of your mat. See if you can walk yourself to elbows in any way, whether you're bringing your props higher to you, right? Sometimes your props need to be two of them on top. See if you can walk yourself down. Keep your right big toe pointing straight ahead, even though you've opened your foot wider to the edge of the mat. And check that out. When you're checking that out, that is you. That's what we're checking out. We're just checking in. We're seeing what's what. If it serves you to open your neck body a bit, you could hang your head into space. Quiet the body down. So if there's a fidget, or if there's a charge, or if you're fisting or kind of stiffening the lip, could you quiet that all down, soften that down, and take one big breath here. Big. And the sigh out. You're going to walk back up off your elbows, forearms, whatever that looks like. You're going to take your blocks to the outside of your mat to frame. Heel toe your right foot more to center. And then put your blocks, if they're blocks, framing the right foot so that you can go to down dog again with your hands on blocks. If you don't have blocks and you're doing towels, use your hands flat to the ground. Straighten your back leg first, breathe in. Straighten your front leg, fold, breathe out. And then bend your front leg and step to downward face dog. Super duper different leg here. Breathe in and out. Manage stillness in Adho Mukha Shavasana, downward face dog. Feel stillness in downward face dog. And before we leave down dog, a couple of offerings. Spin your elbows inward. Feel that in stillness. Breathe in and out. Ground through your inner feet, so your inner thighs wake up. Feel that. Breathe in and out. Look in between your. Step your left foot forward. Put your right knee down. Stand up with the heart and the arms overhead. Anjaneyasana. Breathe in. Put your hands on your left thigh. Feel grounding there. And then work your hips kind of forward with your heart high. My work here is softening in the shoulders. My shoulders like to creep up to my ears and take on all the stories. Can you feel where you can soften? And can you feel where you can let your hips travel forward and down? Let your hands travel to the outsides of that foot. Bring your fingertips or the pads of your fingers. It's your belly and your left thigh meeting a bit here. Keep that meet. And a little shimmy forward of that left foot. So there's a little wider stance between the left heel and the right knee. And then let your hips travel forward and down. Still a little high through the heart, right? Just be here. You'll feel sensation on the outer left hip, but where you really feel stuff happening too here is in that upper right hip. It's like things open up there. And then notice if you're charged. Charged, maybe perceptive is a bit charged, or maybe the jaw is a little stiff. Just notice what you can surrender to. Take one more inhale here. And one more exhale. Walk your left prop and hand to the inside of the left foot. So it just fits right in there. Keep your hands there. Release your hips more forward. there's a pinch in that back knee, curl the back toes under. Keep your left mound of the big toe there, that left foot, grounded right through to the mound of that toe. But as you ground, flag very slowly so you stay grounded, that left knee open a bit. And just keep using the wisdom of that mound of the foot to ground down. So it's a little bit of sweet resistance there. And breathe, breathe, and breathe. Always breathe. Feed your body with oxygen. Feed your tools. Become a little more wiser with big breaths in and out. And become a little more helpful to you. They're there. As we feed it, breathe in and out. Stay with that left knee kind of flagged out and the mound of the foot down, and take 2 more breaths in through the nose and out. If your head is dropped and you're kind of relaxed, shift back and shift back, and then shift the hips more back until the leg is straight and you flip this left toe up, and be in that sweet place here. Breathe in and out. Just a sweet stretch. 1 more breath in. And out. Put the left foot down on the ground as you bend into the left leg again. And then heel toe that left foot wider and wider to the edge of your mat. Keep it grounded in the foot. And then as your hips go forward and down, walk onto your elbows wherever that may be in your story. So it might mean traveling the blocks higher to meet you, right? So some really low lizards look like this. The blocks are higher. Some of you guys really like what you're finding here. You're just kind of greasing the wheels of your hips. And so you get in and you sweeten down. You might have already hung your head on the previous shape. Or maybe you do it here. Can you feel your jaw open up, your fingers relax? Stay tuned for surrender. Take 1 more deep, whole inhale. Send it off with your exhale. If your head's hanging down, pick that guy up slow and steady. You're going to frame your blocks to the outside of your mat just for a beat and walk your foot inward. You walk that foot back to where it was in between your hands. And then if you're working with blocks, you can put them underneath your hands. If you're not, just flat hands to the ground. You're going to straighten your back leg first. Breathe in. And then straighten your front leg and fold in. And then bend your front leg so that you can sneak into downward face dog with a new set of hips, Adho Mukha Shavasana. Try for stillness here, breathe in and out. Take 2 big steps to the outside of your hands, outside of your blocks if you're on your blocks, and point your toes slightly out, heels in. Sit your bum down into space, Malasana squat. If you need to put support underneath your bum, you could slip the blocks underneath. If you enjoy sitting into your flexibility right into space, you could do that. This can be a lot on the knees, so sometimes support underneath your sit bones and your bum. That's helpful to take a little bit of the weight. Now, in our yin pose, it's okay to round into this. So you can have a heavy head, a heavy heart. If you're not using your blocks underneath your sit bones, you might stand up your blocks underneath your forehead and just kind of hang out here. Let your belly be a little Buddha. Let things be a little sloppy. And take advantage of the relaxing of your spine and that rounding there a bit. You can breathe into it and breathe out. And of course, if you're really feeling challenged and you're not getting your breath, you shift a bit or you get some support underneath your sit bones, however high that support needs to be. Any kind of opening through the inner thighs, any kind of stretch in towards the pelvic floor groin, all that is useful stuff. So if you feel any sensation at all, then that's enough. Take about 3 more breaths here. You can start to get your head up. You can release your props out in front, whether they're towels or blocks, just to maybe template your hands. And lean forward a bit like you wanted to go into Bakasana crow pose, but just to get your bum up into the sky in a forward fold. And toe heel or heel toe, maybe 1 or 2 steps in to point your toes straight ahead. and fold with a bend in your legs. Not a chair bend in your legs, not like you're taking a seat, but just so you can release in your lower back. And then be with me on this. Be with me on this. Big, loud, almost obnoxious sighs. Big inhale. Heavy head. Sigh. Keep your head heavy as you fill up your back body. Breathe in. Keep it heavy as you audible exhale. Do that one more time. A little shift of the weight forward into the feet. Breathe in. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Breathe out. Step into downward face dog. Use your heels to ground. Use your hands to ground. Deep breath in. And deep breath out. From down dog, step into your pigeon pose. You can bring your right knee to your right elbow for a beat. And then to the outside of your right wrist, pointing your right knee to 2 o'clock and sending your left leg back. In pigeon for yin, you can really relax your right shin. You don't have to parallel it to the top of your mat if you do that for your yang practice. You can walk yourself down, sweet and steady. And if you really want to go more swan-like, this is for you guys if you feel like this is really tight and too much. You might just look at the monitor for a beat. You could bend your left leg to bring your inner left thigh to the mat and sit into your right hip that way and walk your way down. So it kind of becomes like a swan move rather than a pretty active pigeon that you sleep in. Yogi's choice on where you want to go. I want you to be able to be with a soft jaw and eyes shut. You can bring a cheek to the mat. You can also bring your forehead to the mat and kiss the lips to the floor. And variations are whatever brings you ease. Hips typically lock up a lot of energy. We all have different parts of our body for sure that we store our stress. But for whatever reason, the hips end up being a kind of gateway out of that stress or into that stress. A lot of locked energy there. So when we're doing this work of practicing yin especially, and we're doing hip work, it's completely normal for it to stir us up emotionally as well. Take one big inhale, store it up at the top, hold, hold, and then exhale, release heavier through the body to the mat. Start by peeking your head up. Getting on to maybe your forearms from your swan or your pigeon. If you're in swan, slide that left leg long. Get up onto your hands to proud your pigeon. If you had blocks for downward face dog, it might feel really nice to get into downward dog with hands on blocks. Adho Mukha Shavasana, there's your rebound. You can do what you want in your down dog. I'm really digging stillness today because I tend to pedal and enjoy and kind of find the right fit. I'm finding something interesting in my stillness. And of course, I invite you to explore that too, but if it doesn't suit you, that's cool. You can bring the left knee maybe to the left elbow, breathing in. Little kiss, and then stepping your left knee to about 11 o'clock and sliding your right leg back into a proud pigeon. Finding the settling of the hips in proud pigeon before you maybe sleep your pigeon. If you want to find swan, I'm going to do that for my version today. So you can look at the monitor if you forget, but you're just inner right thigh to the mat, bend the right knee, slide it up almost behind whatever your left heel, wherever that's sitting. And then lean into that left hip down and walk yourself down on swan as far as you can get to the mat. This is always an option instead of pigeon. It's good to sometimes mix it up. And anytime you don't meet the floor or it doesn't feel right to go all the way down, you could do what I'm doing. I put a block, or you could put your towel underneath somewhere, whether it's your shoulder, whether it's underneath your cheek. However you need to meet the floor and be supported is the right way to do it. Try and keep still in whatever you're offering your body. Sometimes we feel a tendency to follow into all these stretches and moves, and just wondering, what does it look like when you're quiet in your body? Take 2 more breaths here. Breathe in and out. And you can peek your head up and go to your forearms, whether on pigeon or swan. But if you're in swan, you're going to start to slide your right leg straight. And then you'll walk up to proud pigeon. If you use the blocks underneath your hands, maybe you use them again. Step into downward face dog. Separate your blocks a little wider, almost mat width distance. Tiptoe to the top of the mat. Bring your heels up to your bum as you squat down on the balls of your feet. And breathe in and out. Walk your hands or your props back a bit. Have a seat, legs long out in front. We're going to lie down and create one more pose before our final Shavasana, which should feel kind of nice on the back body. And also pretty good for the hips. Take one of your blocks, medium height. Step your feet onto the mat. Supported back bend, supported bridge. You can float a couple of times. You can inhale up. You can exhale down. Inhale up. Hips, pelvic floor up high as you press into the feet. Exhale down. And then come up again and slip the block underneath your sacrum. And let your sacrum really heavy to the block. Just heavy, heavy, heavy to the block. And as you feel a kind of spread and stretch in your sacrum and through your hips, fill all of this space up, this mid, with breath in and then breath out. Try and be in stillness here. Just letting the pose do its work. Creating a kind of roadmap to your body and what it needs today. One more breath in through the nose. And sigh it out. Sneak your bum up, sneak the block out. Put your sacrum down. Option to go right into Shavasana with long legs, or you might sneak these blocks underneath your upper thighs and then long your legs for a bit of support into the lower back as you Shavasana. If ever lower back pain, this is a really nice offering. A little lift of your legs to get in. You take care of yourself today. Meet yourself exactly where you are. Namaste.